I'm really excited about this next session, a chance for you to hear more about our stroke group network, what it is, what's been achieved so far, and really importantly, how you can shape it going forward because it's your network. We've got a jam-packed hour ahead with Sophia from our group networks team. We've got Velma and Linos from our engagement teams in the Midlands and in Wales. And we've also got Neil and Fred, which I'm delighted to have with us. So group leaders who are reflecting on the network for themselves and also how working together with other organisations has really benefited their members. So without further ado, I'll get into the meaty bit of this next session. I'll stop talking and I'll hand over to Sophia Costa, who is going to kick us off. Thanks so much, Sophia.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Beth. So I'm going to jump straight into it and run through what's being covered in today's session. So firstly, why are we moving to a stroke group network? Then I'll explain what the stroke group network is and how it can benefit your group. I'll tell you what the network has achieved so far, and then bring in some guest speakers that will bring to life some of our partnership working. And finally, I'll outline our priorities and the focus of the network going forward. But first, why is this work important? You've heard from Juliet, our Chief Executive, this morning, and through her monthly emails, that we're transforming our charity to rebuild more lives after stroke. As the UK's biggest stroke charity, we want to make a bigger difference and reach more people affected by stroke. We know that stroke groups play a vital role in helping people to rebuild their lives, and so we want to continue to support the incredible work that you do. We want to work with an electric mix of people, backgrounds, and communities who share our passion for ensuring that stroke survivors and their loved ones get the support that they need. We know there is more we can do together, and we need to work differently together to make this happen. So we've been working with volunteers of stroke support groups to understand how our charity can do this. We also want to ensure that we are focusing on the things that you've told us will make the most difference. So in 2019, we worked with a research company, Bright Purpose, to understand how we can best support stroke support groups. We spoke with over 400 volunteers and leaders of groups through surveys and interviews. Group leaders told us their main ambitions are to increase membership, reach more volunteers, increase the number and variety of activities offered, work with other organisations and groups locally, and access more formal training and help from people in similar roles. These ambitions are also some of the biggest challenges and where group leaders want more support. Now moving on to how we'll talk about the network. So on the screen are some of the key terms that we use, which is stroke group network, stroke association support groups, and stroke support groups. Volunteers felt that support was the most important thing to remember from groups. The Stroke Association will use stroke support groups to talk about all groups together. Sometimes we need a qualifier, so a way to clarify how groups relate to the organisation. So previously, where we would have referred to affiliation, when a certain situation requires it, we'll say stroke support groups that are independently run instead. So in July 2021, we moved to a new way of working. For independently run groups, it meant moving from the old affiliation arrangement to a new benefits package as part of the stroke group network. Stroke association support groups automatically became part of this network too. The Stroke Association's Stroke Group Network is a community of stroke support groups from across the UK. This network will support hundreds of stroke groups so they can be there for people affected by stroke in their local area and online. So from structured group sessions to informal CAF meetups, it brings together all types of stroke group stroke groups to make sure that people affected by stroke can support one another to rebuild their lives. So not only can the network help group leaders share experiences, learning, and ideas, it can also offer practical tools, resources, and information to help them be a leading source of support for people affected by stroke. The network collects leaders of stroke support groups and helps them flourish by making sure you have access to information and support, as well as resources and ideas, and that we are there for each other when we face challenges. Together, we raise the profile of stroke groups so that more people affected by stroke are aware of the local and online support available. In developing the network, one group leader told us, "But we're already on this journey. I've met with other groups. Connections are already happening." It's important to know that the network is building on our strengths and will be responsive. It will evolve over time, and you'll have the opportunity to shape it. And the network will very much interlock with our community development work too. So what have we achieved so far? Our primary focus over the last year has been helping groups to adapt and to recover from COVID-19. But we've also developed a new benefits package for independently run groups as part of the network. We're not going to go through the details of the benefits package today, but if you want to know more, then please send us a message by clicking on the Contact Us button or by emailing us at our new email address at groupnetworks@stroke.org.uk. When we moved previously affiliated groups into this new benefits package, one leader from an independently run group said, "I think that you and the team have done a great job, both in listening to our needs and suggestions in previous meetings. As a volunteer and survivor, I am excited by this development." And we've thought about how the network approach can support all stroke groups across the UK too. Stroke Association support groups will automatically become part of the network, experiencing the benefits of reaching more people, connecting small groups, organisations and individuals, both locally and nationally, building your network of support. We've also started to improve systems such as our website to connect more people into groups. We're also connecting you as leaders together through group discussion, also known as forums. And we've built new partnerships at a national level. And all these points I'm going to go through now. Whoops. There we go. So firstly, I'm going to talk about the website. The web pages for stroke groups has recently been updated to make it easier for people looking for support. Now, when you search for support in your area, choosing either services or groups, it shows you the nearest one to you. Not only does it let the person contact that group leader directly, but it also gives people more of a streamlined approach to getting support. Since launching the online forum on our website, we've had 70 people contacting us in August, which moved to 140 in September and over 100 in October. So not only has this improved one of the ways members can access groups, it also provides us as an organisation with a lot of information that we can learn from and work with you as leaders to connect to make improvement to the process. Now moving on to postal mailings. So in addition to the website, we regularly promote support groups through our helpline, our monthly newsletters and publications like the Stroke News. We want to make sure everyone knows we're here for them and providing essential information regarding how we can support them. So we are mailing people we've supported in some way about 4 times a year on a range of subjects. So in September 2021, for the first time, we focused only on the network of stroke support groups across the country in this postal mailing, which went out to thousands of people on our database. We are trying to replicate that online journey, similar to the website, offline here with this postal mailing. So in the first 3 weeks, we've had over 200 people contact us about connecting with their local or online group. We are going to learn from this. first postal mailing, and then we're going to review it and see what it means for the future of mailings. Now on to connecting leaders. So time and time again, we hear feedback that the most valuable aspect of facilitating connection was groups having the opportunity to talk with their peers. This is because it gave like-minded people who face similar challenges, ambitions, and goals the opportunity to share knowledge, experience, and resource. We realized then that this could add huge value to the group community and help to bring leaders together, which many groups took to and still do today. So whether it's been online or face-to-face or through email, group leaders have come together to discuss many mutual challenges, such as attracting new members, volunteers, activity ideas, guest speakers, overcoming digital barriers, funding opportunities, as well as sharing grant applications. And I've seen much, much more. So last year, we ran a detailed session on it at the conference, and I know that this year, the London and the Midlands team have planned a local session to bring group volunteers together from that area before Christmas, with other areas keen to hear from you on how you'd like to connect with your local peers. So if you can, head over to the exhibition space to listen to last year's session and to find contact details for your local area. And many of you have come together nationally with us in the Group Networks team, supporting various pieces of work, such as changes to our website and our postal mailings. But in order to give us a flavour of the topics you would like to discuss on a national level, we would love it if you could follow the link that we're going to post in the chat and fill in a short poll that lets us know what topics that you would most like to discuss. This is something we can then feed back at the end of the conference. And finally, partnerships. So far, we have built partnerships with organisations that include Interact, AbilityNet, and Self Help UK. You can go to the exhibition where you can find out about all three, but today I want to talk to you about Self Help UK. So Self Help UK is a charity which has been promoting and developing a variety of peer support mechanisms for almost 40 years. Groups which are a part of the Stroke Group Network can now access Self Help UK's broad and inclusive training offer for a heavily discounted fee. And now I'm going to head over to Neil. He is the group leader from Maidenhead and District Stroke Club, who will share from his perspective how he sees the network helping him and his group.
Hi everyone, my name is Neil. I'm the chairman of the Maidenhead and District Stroke Club. I've been chairman now for 15 of the club's 30 plus years, and we have a membership that floats between 40 and 70 members, and our aim is to help our members re-establish themselves in a social situation. Our meetings are largely social focused. We also include optional activities such as tabletop gardening, quizzes, chair-based exercises, singing, things like that. And we meet fortnightly with additional activities around the meetings, one-on-one support with speech therapists, physiotherapists, pub lunches, boat trips, garden centre trips, and so on. In terms of the new network, for me, for all of us, I think the world has changed and continues to change. And I know in what I do as a day job, some people don't necessarily always like that, but the pace of change is now quicker than ever. We're all having to respond faster and faster these days to how people receive information, their expectations that information is at their fingertips when they want it and that they get responded to quickly. And I think for me as well, the last couple of years has shown that we as group leaders need to be quick to respond to wider challenges such as how we meet, when we meet, and the rules for when we do meet. I think the range of different club sizes and club circumstances means that each group within the network has its own needs, and they're going to be quite different for each club and for each group. Previously, as an affiliated club, we were self-sufficient for many years, because under the old scheme it did feel that everything was quite boilerplate, everything was quite the same and didn't necessarily always match what we needed. So for me, when I first heard about the network, I was really excited for two reasons. Firstly, that things would evolve based on what we needed at the time, that there was going to be two-way communication, we were going to be listened to, because that's the way the world works now. Things evolve so quickly, and that's what we need from a network. And the second thing for me was that it wouldn't be one size fits all. We would get a range of options open to us so that we could pick and choose what's most appropriate for our own groups. In terms of opportunities from the network that I see, I think the biggest one for me, and I'm sure this is shared by a number of groups, is to increase membership. And that's especially important now in a world where a lot of our traditional routes to reaching new members aren't necessarily there anymore. We need to be creative in terms of getting to people, but I also think that people are being creative in finding us. A lot of the places where people would go and find out about our clubs, doctors, surgery, waiting rooms, or their families would be in waiting rooms in hospitals looking at posters whilst they were waiting for people to come out of appointments. Those opportunities aren't there anymore. So through the network website, the opportunity to speed up referrals, to let people know that we're out there and getting their information to us quickly, that self-referral, we're already starting to see the benefits of that. And that for me was my worry in terms of getting face-to-face meetings up and going again. How are we going to let people know we're there? So we're already seeing benefits of that. I think other opportunities that I see are the opportunity for continuous improvement. The club that I'm blessed to run has been going for 3 decades, but I still firmly believe we can always learn and we can always be better. And what I'm looking forward to as time moves on is that digital space to connect us and bring us together, working in a modern, socially collaborative way. We all work different hours these days. We've all got different commitments around our voluntary work. And I think the last 18 months have shown us that working and collaborating digitally means it's actually easier to catch up on things that we might have missed in an online space. We don't need to confine ourselves to the old-fashioned everyone jump on a meeting anymore. We're all used to scrolling through Facebook and other social media platforms and seeing things in timelines and managing what information we see now, which in itself is a form of social learning. So for me, the opportunity to have a digital space that I can jump onto and catch up on what people may have posted and shared a couple of hours, a couple of days, a couple of weeks ago, when I'm available to do that, for me is a real big bonus. Some of the themes that I'm looking forward to collaborating on and are around sharing some of the basics. I don't need rocket science, but where I think I'm going to see a lot of added value from the network is sharing ideas and avoiding duplication. I think how many of us must be doing things like coming up with quizzes, for example. How many of us are having the same good idea over and over again, such as having speakers from the police come in to talk about scams and security? Some of the groups that we use that come in have got their own nationwide networks. And I'm sure that many other groups have also got groups that they use that have other nationwide networks as well. So being able to share groups that we use and go and have a look at what other groups are using as well is going to really, I think, add value to our club and start bringing in new ideas to make sure that we're keeping everything varied and we're stealing with pride, to be honest. If other groups are doing some good work, I want to be able to jump on that and say, we don't do that. I'd quite like to have a go at that. So I'm sure that the sharing of new ideas, whilst it sounds really basic, is going to be one of the things that we're going to be able to collaborate with each other on and get the most value from for our members.
Really grateful to hear from Neil, not only for his insight, but for his 15 years of dedication to supporting his local stroke group. Now we're going to pass over to Velma, who is the engagement officer in the Midlands.
Thanks, Sophia. Good morning, everyone. My name is Velma. I'm an engagement officer in the Midlands. Part of my role is to create community partnerships and raise awareness on stroke by engaging with organisations, NHS teams and projects in the Midlands. I do this by offering to be part of their staff training, give talks on stroke awareness, all while showcasing our stroke services for the community we all serve. Now, the Midlands Engagement Team are proud to be an integral part of the locality impact work within the Stroke Association and the Stroke Group Network mentioned earlier by Sophia. As a locality team, we recognise the value of partnership working on a local level with other organisations to build accessible and sustainable opportunities for people affected by stroke to engage with and find support within their very own communities. We are involved with so many projects in the Midlands, but today I'm going to show one example happening in Nottingham. This is an area that does not have a stroke recovery service currently funded by local authorities. So we decided to see what was available for stroke survivors in this area and how we could improve access to current services. We've been doing some great partnership work with the Canal and River Trust, Beeston Heritage Centre and the Megan and Tinks project to ensure we have accessible and sustainable opportunities for stroke survivors in Nottingham to access the canals and rivers. You can see here some great pictures of stroke survivors accessing the canals and heritage gardens. Next slide, please. I always find it helpful when people share learning. So here are some of our top tips on partnership working. But let me walk you through how we developed this in Nottingham. First, I got in touch with the Canal and River Trust, who were advertising how people could access the canal in Nottingham, from canoeing, fishing, paddleboarding, art sessions and photography. We had talks together to see how we could connect them with stroke survivors and how we could support stroke survivors in accessing their services. Working with local stroke groups, we were able to ensure these organisations understood stroke survivors and carers' mobility and aphasia needs by hosting aphasia-friendly online meetings, training their staff, and instigating open discussions that impact services. We managed to help plan, with the stroke survivors' input of course, a bespoke day out on the canal on a wheelchair accessible narrowboat with a guided tour of the Heritage Centre and gardens. They have also since been given an opportunity to be involved in an art project for stroke survivors, where they will design a bench which celebrates stroke survivors. This will be a lasting monument that welcomes all people who visit the waterways for years to come. It will be in place next year, so if you are able, please do pop down and have a look. I'm happy to share details in the chat room after this session of where the bench will be located. The Heritage Centre have also offered ongoing free space for stroke survivors to meet and create art, which will help them share and raise awareness on stroke in the local community. Canal and River Trust are a UK-wide charity, so we hope to replicate this in other areas. I'm pleased to say that we will now hear from Fred, the chair of the local Art for Stroke folk group in Nottingham, on his experience of community partnership working, and then we will show a short video of the day in action so you can see what a difference it made to all involved. Over to you, Fred.
Hi everyone, my name is Fred Hickton. Along with a group of volunteers, we've run the Stroke Art Club, Art for Stroke Folk, for over 8 years now. Originally, we held the club in the Stroke Nottingham offices at the Point in West Bridgford. However, we have had to find a new home. The Stroke Association was moving out of the Point. We've joined the After Stroke Club at St Paul's Church, West Bridgford. And to date, we've had 2 live meetings, have a room to ourselves, access kitchen and toilet facilities. But we have to pay for the hour of the room, where before it was effectively free. But we do have place available, so if anybody wishes, they can join us. So as you might imagine, it's been a rather busy time for Art for Stroke Folk. But then we received an invitation for a canal trip for a number of stroke survivors and carers So we asked for volunteers from the art group. We had a visit to one of our regular online art group meetings from Carol Burrell from the Canals and Rivers Trust. And this was the beginning of discussions as to how we could get the best from the trip for our members. We followed this up with a further couple of meetings. We agreed to keep this initial session down to about an hour to avoid fatigue, which can be probably stroke sufferers. Starting late morning to give people with serious who need help getting things ready, and we consider the needs of our members with serious mobility problems and also dyslexia. So at the end of it, we ended up with very much a made-to-measure package. So on the morning of the 3rd of September, 10 of us, including 3 wheelchair users, turned up at the Canalside Heritage Centre, Beeston, with our engagement officer, Velma, ready for our watery adventure. Access to the centre was reasonable, just needed a bit of muscle. The event was run by 2 charities. The Canal and River Trust owns the Heritage Centre and the sport buildings. These were 2 workers' cottages now joined together, which house a large art room, toilets, sitting spaces, and a cafe. All are volunteer run. We welcomed and showed round, and now it's time to set sail. Well, actually, to set motor. The narrowboats were owned by another charity, the Megan and Tinks Nottingham Narrowboat Project, named after 2 narrowboats, not surprisingly, Megan and Tinks. By the way, they're called narrowboats because they're narrow so that 2 can pass in a standard 18-foot canal. Our boat had been specially modified to take wheelchairs. We had 2 qualified skippers, and the first wheelchair occupant to be loaded was me. It's peaceful and calming to see the various moored canal vessels and the riverside dwellings. There's also the bird life, including my favourite bird, which is the majestic, stately grey heron, standing still in the water, scouring the depths for his supper. After a good hour in the water, we returned to shore, disembarked, thanked our hosts, and disappeared into the cafe to sample their excellent homemade fare. So what did we gain from our trip? Well, time in new surroundings with people they knew, but in a different environment. We learned about the history of canals, met some of the volunteers, and we plan to follow up next year when it gets a little bit warmer, when all our changes are sorted out, and hopefully when COVID has finished its worst. And we hope to conduct an art project based on the canal at the Heritage Centre.
You ready?
Yeah.
I'm not. Hold on. No. After 3.
I need the catcher in place.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Should be me the other side, really. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm on the side. Yeah. Yeah. Now we're going to turn you around. Pulled by a horse, and the cart and horse would take the coal down to the river, and then it was loaded on the bigger barges. The trouble was, a horse had got a limit to the size of load it could pull. So like 1 horsepower could pull 1 loaded cart of coal. And being greedy, they wanted to get more and more coal out as quickly as they could because they could make more money that way.
Thank you so much, Velma and Fred. It's so inspirational to hear. I always love hearing about the work that you do. And now I'm going to hand over to Linos, who is our engagement lead in Wales. Over to you, Linas.
Thank you, Sophia, and hello, everybody. Yes, I'm Linas Wyn-Parry, and I am the Engagements Lead covering Wales. So today I'm going to just be discussing a little bit about our work and how we work in partnership with various organisations, and also some of the activities happening within our Community Steps project, which is a Wales-based project. So in Wales, we have Community Steps officers. We have 4 officers covering the whole of Wales, and what their role entails is building stroke communities, enhancing activities and projects across the whole of Wales, and empowering stroke survivors and their carers to have a voice and to use their voice to highlight issues that are important to them. Across the whole of Wales, our officers have worked extremely closely with stroke survivors and their carers, including group members, to understand the needs and interests locally. So based on the work that they've done, they have then set about to set up projects and activities on a local basis that are bespoke to those areas based on the evidence and the learnings that have been gathered. The officers also work within their local communities, and they work extremely closely with other partner organisations. They network, and following the networking opportunities and the partnership opportunities, they jointly put partnerships together to be able to enhance the offerings that are available across the whole of Wales. All projects are bespoke to local areas. There may be projects that replicate each other in various areas, but they are bespoke following the feedback that we have had from our stroke survivors and carers and group members across the whole of Wales. And all our activities across Wales are based very much on local need. Next slide, please. So just some examples of the partnership working in Wales. Over the past 4 years, we have worked with Wales Bowls, Rubicon Dance, organisations such as Headway, Parkinson's and the MS Society to start up groups in rural areas, Head for Arts and Golf Wales. With regards to Golf Wales, this partnership came following some similar partnerships in England. And this idea was something that we really wanted to replicate in Wales. So we attended some sessions, England-based sessions. We also were introduced to the Wales equivalents and then set up meetings with them. Golf Wales have worked in partnership with us now for almost 4 years. And what they do on a very much a local basis, once again, is they work with our groups, identify members who either were golf players prior to their stroke or were keen to start something new following their stroke. Across the whole of Wales, our golf professionals within the golf clubs, they work with our group members to ensure that they are introduced to golf, they are supported when playing golf. The projects are time limited, so very much well, usually they are 6 to 8 weeks, time limited projects, and they are funded in the main by Golf Wales. We have also been able to part fund projects as an organisation, having applied for grants, but the majority of the projects are funded by Golf Wales. Next slide, please. So, how to set up partnerships? Just some ideas really from ourselves in Wales, based very much on the learnings that we have had. I think the most important thing to set up a partnership is to identify the needs locally. So these are the needs of your group members and also similar groups in your local area. Then go and check out what the local provision is. Who are the partner organisations? Who does what where? Rather than duplicate, there may be opportunities to link up with other partner organisations with other organisations that do similar work to us. As I mentioned in the previous slide, we have worked with Headway, with Parkinson's UK, and also with the MS Society, and that was to set up a group. It was a boccia group in a very rural area where we didn't have enough members, and neither did they, to form a group. So we all came together to form a group that other people with neurological conditions could also join. Also, it's key to identify where exactly the gaps are. So when I'm talking about gaps, I'm talking about the gaps in the local provision. And once again, looking at what is around, seeing what is around, who may be able to plug those gaps, and then having those conversations with them. Over the past 18 months, we have set up virtual sessions, and the virtual sessions have been opened up to the whole of Wales in quite a few cases. This has really helped with regards to partnership working. This has also helped with groups being able to come together from various parts of Wales to work together. Geographical boundaries are not an issue. Travel is not an issue. And this is something that we have really focused on and will be focusing on going forward, following feedback. As our group members have told us that this is something that they would like to see continue. Going forward, we will be looking at a hybrid model of some face-to-face groups, but also continuing with the virtual groups across Wales, because we really do understand now the benefits of them. The final point to consider is rural versus urban. In urban areas, what we have found is that there are many, many groups or activities or partners doing similar activities. It is a little bit different in rural areas where opportunities may be a little bit more scarce. That is why partnership working, especially in rural areas, is so vital to us as an organisation, and we would recommend going out to have this conversation with our groups and clubs, just to identify who has worked within partnerships, what experiences you have with groups and within groups and clubs, working with partner organisations, and there will be an opportunity later on in the breakout rooms for us to continue with this conversation. Next slide, please. So our top tips with regards to setting up partnership working is identify any other groups in the local area or beyond with similar interests. Now, going back to the virtual sessions that we now are able to offer and to support with, and our community steps officers would be able to support you as groups in linking groups together, and identifying the groups with similar interests would be a way of working together in partnership. Again, what is there locally and where the gaps are, and then connecting with each other. We are looking at running forums in Wales. Forums do happen in other parts of the country, but the forums will be an opportunity for you to share your knowledge, ideas, good practice, and any learnings with each other. For our groups in Wales and beyond, because there are engagement officers across the whole of the UK, not just in Wales, talk to your local officers. Their contact details will be available after these sessions, but please do talk to your local officers. They are there to support you in identifying any partnership opportunities and also to share some good practice with you. Also, volunteer centres, they are a font of knowledge. They are excellent, and there are volunteer centres in each every area of the UK. They are excellent sources of information when it comes to funding and support. So please do reach out to them, make yourself familiar with them, and have conversations with them. The media also. The media are there to identify stories, so really good news stories. They are always looking for good news stories. So please promote your groups, promote any activities with your local media. Not just the newspapers, but also local radio. They're always looking for stories. And don't be afraid to think outside the box. There may be opportunities that you think may not work, consider them. Do not dismiss them. Consider them. They may well work in your local area. Next slide, please. So just some feedback from our members. The first feedback is from a member of one of our Zoom groups, and what she says is, it's a fabulous opportunity to meet new people that I would not otherwise have spoken with, and learning at the same time. Some additional feedback, it's given me a new passion and something to look forward to. Seeing others who have been physically more affected than me spurred me on and gave me the motivation to do it, because if they can do it, I have no excuse not to. Each Zoom group I attend, I grow a bit more in confidence. I lost a lot of that following the stroke. Now I'd like to just demonstrate to you through a video that has been put together by one of our wonderful groups. It's the Strike a Chord Choir. The Strike a Chord Choir work in partnership with Head for Arts. They are jointly funded by Head for Arts and also the subs that they raise as groups. So if the video could now be played. Thank you.
Bring me sunshine in your smile. Bring me laughter all the while. In this world where we live, there should be more happiness, so much joy you can give to each brand new bright tomorrow. Make me happy through the years. Never bring me any tears. Let your arms be as warm as the sun from up above. Bring me fun, bring me sunshine, bring me love. Bring me sunshine in your eyes. Bring me rainbows from the sky. Life's too short to be spent having anything but fun. We could be so content if we gather little sunbeams, be light-hearted all day long. Keep me singing happy songs. Let your arms be as warm as the sun from up above. Bring me fun, bring me sunshine, bring me love. Bring me fun, bring me sunshine, bring me love.
Wow, I think that video, that singing has took me off guard. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much, Linos. It's amazing to hear the wide-ranging work that you do. And now, finally, let's talk about the network's priorities moving forward. So one of the things that we're looking into is developing a series of national sessions on themes that matter to you. We need to start taking risks and become trailblazers in what we do. But to do this, we need your insight. If you get the chance, please fill in the poll in the exhibition so we can hear more about your thoughts. And do email us at groupnetworks@stroke.org.uk. We're also improving our infrastructure and processes, as well as our data and insight to collect better information that can help shape the future of the network. And finally, in 2022, we will welcome new groups into the network that haven't previously had a close relationship with us. Collaboration and partnership are key to all that we do. So we're really excited for this next development. And that is everything from me. So I'm going to hand over to Beth.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Sophia, for facilitating such a wonderful session and sharing lots of information about the network too. I know that I want to re-watch that session because it was so full of wonderful sharing ideas, top tips, information. So do know that we are going to share all of this afterwards, so you can catch up if you need to. So I know that the chat bar and the chat box has been having some good activity. I would like to welcome Anne back just to give us a little flavour of what's been going on. That would be really nice if you're there, Anne.
I'm here. Hi everyone. Yes, there's some lovely comments going on in there. So to start, we had some good feedback about the breakout rooms, and Laurie from Nelsey Stroke Survivors said that she loves the opportunity to connect with local peers on Zoom, but also likes the opportunity to meet with the wider network here today in the breakout rooms. Also lovely to see and hear how you all meet up and the focus that your groups have. Lots of evolving around food and drink, but that's all good. Some lovely connections going on and sharing the information on in the chat. So great to see all that. Please do continue. But if you don't want to share any personal details in there, then do contact us on the contact button below the screen and we'll help connect you with anyone. Alison James also commented on the web referrals and said that, you know, it works really well for them and they've had lots of referrals to their group via the website. And finally, some big thanks to our speakers for sharing their experiences. People would like to listen to Fred's adventures all day, and possibly there's lots of group discussions on there about bird watching. And then, yes, everybody loves the choir. Everyone's singing along, and the top tips from Linus are really useful. So all really good in there.
Thank you, Anne. That's really helpful to share it for others that may not be using it at the moment. Brilliant. Well, let's hear more about Fred's bird watching and his tips. We're going to bring back the panel. So I'd like to bring back Sophia and Velma and Linus and Fred. Hopefully we'll see everyone's faces. There we go. That's wonderful. And I know there have been a few questions, so I will come round to you all and ask you a few things. I am going to start with you, Fred, because there's been lots and lots of love for you on the chat box. You can share a little bit more about your adventures. What I'm really keen to ask you is, what are your plans for your future and your group around sort of partnership working? So do you have, after your experience with the Canal and River Trust, what's it making you think about working with organisations, maybe more with them or with other organisations?
It's already been mentioned, we've got the designer canal side bench project. So some of us are going in for that. Also in the spring, when it gets a little more clement and a lot of trouble has gone away, we want to do an art project in the art room at the Riverside Place, their canal side heritage centre. So we will organise that. But first of all, we'll do the bench and design a wonderful bench, maybe, and then we'll take it from there. But we'll do other things with the group as well. Our effort at the moment is to be getting the art group organised and running. So we've got face-to-face meetings now, but we're missing some of the advantages of an online system. So I'm afraid we're doing both. Hard work. But never mind, it's worthwhile. So everyone will have an online session. We'll have a face-to-face session, and I do what I call a book of the day of the paintings that people have done, collect them up and send them to all the group. So everybody's included and pulled into the system. So it's we've a way to go yet. We're doing all right now.
Wonderful. Thank you, Fred. It sounds like you've got so much going on with your group. And I think your point about the online and the face-to-face, and you're still wanting to offer both, which is brilliant. But also there's challenges to that, isn't there, in terms of
Oh, yeah.
the work that's involved. So I think that the final session tomorrow we'll pick up a lot on that as well, so we can have some more conversations about that sort of blended approach and what the benefit but also challenges are of that. Thank you, Fred. Velma, if I come to you for a moment, maybe in terms of your challenges around working in partnership with other organisations, were there certain challenges you found and how you managed to address them?
Yeah, I think with anything you do, there's always challenges and learnings from it. I think some of the challenges were to just be so excited about, the work that other organizations are doing, and I went down there and I had a go of the paddle boarding, and I was working out ways, can stroke survivors come here, will they be able to get in the boats, what's going on? All of the accessibility needs were a kind of big thinking plan. It all sounds not much of a challenge and a lot of fun for me, but the accessibility things were a kind of big challenge, just to ensure that we didn't want to take away from their project or what they were doing as an organization, but to then let them be aware of, actually, if we could just do this, or have you thought about this? And thankfully they were so accommodating, but just to put those things across, to not take away from what they're already doing, but to just enhance it so that it's accessible for all people. And Fred's group and Fred were brilliant at expressing their needs, what they were excited about. Everybody wanted to be involved, but the other thing to think about as well is it's not just the stroke survivors. Juliet talked about carers before, and on those trips the carers would come, so we've got to think about their mobility needs, and are they able to push somebody over or something, and think about all of those things as well. So there's a lot to think about. It's not just, it was a lovely day trip and the video was a lot of fun, but it took a lot of time to get there, with all the meetings and making sure everybody's needs were met. But it always works out, and we keep looking for additional projects to join. So
thank you, Velma. Yeah, I think your point about sometimes it does take a bit of work at the beginning, but then you have almost a really established relationship with that organisation that reaps rewards for months afterwards. Sophia, I've got a question around the network. What are you most excited about with the network? Have you got something that you're
I reckon a
excited
thing
about over
or
the coming
two.
year? A thing or two. You want to share one with us?
I think in a nutshell, I would say I'm excited by a lot. Since I joined in July, I can see so much potential, so much opportunity, that it's just such an exciting time for us. I would say in particular, the two things that I am personally really excited for, I'd say one is the website developments. I can see tangible changes with the self-referral. I can see statistics that are showing us how much that has been improved, and that is just the beginning. So I'm really looking forward to those future developments. The second one is forums, or just connecting leaders, generally speaking. So I was involved in that before, and I have firsthand experienced the benefits that I can see when people come together who are so knowledgeable and have so much to give and have so much experience. Like everybody that's been on the session today, I'm just really excited to see that grow, to flourish, and just see where we go from here. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you. Thanks, Sophia. And I think, there is always ways to shape it forward. And there's been a question from Julia actually around what's the best way to see a snapshot of all groups currently in a specific area, e.g. Basingstoke, Hampshire. And I think that's a really, really good point that we could take forward about the next stage of development for the website, where we could try and get a map on the website where people can see like you say, Julia, at a snapshot, what groups are nearby. So we can definitely take that point. Thank you for raising that. It's a good development piece for us. Fabulous. Well, we are coming to the end of this session and we've got a couple of minutes left. So I do want to be able to keep us to time to wrap up at 12:30. so that people can join breakout rooms if they're keen to do that again. Are there any final reflections from anyone on the panel before I go into closing remarks? No, we all good. Thank you. Thank you all so much for filling that hour with so much information. We really appreciate it. So we have come to the end of the first day, which I can't believe. It's gone incredibly quickly. If you've got any more questions for our speakers, do please jump into the breakout room. We've also got a quick poll, if that's okay, because we found it really helpful from the first session. If you could let us know if you found this talk useful, and that helps us think about future sessions for future events. As I said before, you can still access the platform over the next few weeks, and I would really recommend you checking out the group exchange in your own time. So if you click on the exhibition button, you'll then go through and see a button for group exchange. And in there, it's got the wonderful artwork by Fred and his group, the newsletter from the Welsh team around the community steps partnerships, and lots of different activities from groups. So thank you to those who have shared your activities that we're able to put up on the platform for others to see. 10:15 tomorrow we start, and we welcome Neil and Julia, who will kick us off reflecting on our journey back to face-to-face meetings. They'll remind us of the current position that we're following, where you can find those resources if you are bringing your groups back together. You'll also have the opportunity to hear from 3 group leaders who are at different stages of recovery back to in-person meetings. And at 11:40, we'll then go into the final session, focusing on this adaptation of peer support groups. So you'll hear from Stroke Association teams who are leading Scotland-wide and then UK-wide online groups. And they'll share their top tips with you and how you and members can access those groups if you wanted to. And then we'll hear from group leader Steve, who really wants to share his reflection of running online and face-to-face meetings, very much what you spoke about, Fred, how it's so beneficial to people, but also there are challenges and how we can work within those challenges. So enjoy your lunch and enjoy the breakout rooms if you do pop into those, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you all so much. Bye-bye.